Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Yoko. For those who don't know me, I am a Japanese living in Japan who is a huge Trump supporter, and today I would like to talk about the reactions of people regarding the incident in Charlottesville. And this video is going to be very long, so I hope that you are ready for that. So what I would like to focus on in this video is the fact that white people are being used as a tool to weaken the US, to create the foundation for a socialist or communist revolution in the US. Considering this perspective, when I see people talking about what's white supremacy, what's white nationalism, what's alt-right, and that sort of things, even though those elements are very important, I think that it's a little off point, in my opinion. Because look at what people are saying now. People's reactions of the protests in Charlottesville can be divided in mostly three groups, I think, like as far as I can see. The first group is those who that understand the motivation of supposed white supremacy or nationalist people and stand on their side. And the second group is those who that think that the supposed white supremacy or nationalist protesters in Charlottesville are all bad. And the last group is those who that recognize what happened in Charlottesville was bad, but simultaneously are aware that incidents like this will keep happening if the mainstream media only report one-sided opinions and oppress the freedom of speech from the other side. And with that in mind, what catches my eyes as problems are these two things. And the first problem is typical: the left is trying to justify their usual violence towards the white people or alt-right people or maybe even conservative people by demonizing them all together, right? Using this incident. This is a great case to demonize you with. And when the left makes it to demonize you, they can oppress your freedom of speech, they can justify any violence against you, meaning that they can even justify a violent revolution in your country. And of course, whether they have this in mind or not, I can already see some people are showing the difference or distance from white supremacy or nationalist people, but such an action actually leads to another problem that I'm seeing, which is the second one. The second problem I'm seeing is that the people in the roughly the same group are now kind of fighting inward. So rather than the division between the right and the left, I'm more concerned and cautious of the division happening inside of the non-left category of people. And some of you might say like, oh, that's because we're different. What are you talking about, you Japanese idiots, or something like that. But trust me, I know how you feel, so hear me out. So as I said, I come from Japan. I mean Japan. And in my country, we have this far-right group called 在特会, which stands for 在日特権を許さない市民の会, meaning the Association of Citizens Against the Special Privileges of the Zainichi. And Zainichi in this case means Koreans in Japan. And so this group is against the special privileges of Koreans in Japan, which actually do exist, such as the right for permanent residency and so forth. I don't even know if they're active still, but what 在特会 insists is that because Koreans have all these privileges unlike other foreigners in Japan, they say that it's discriminative against other foreigners. So they want to get rid of all the privileges that Koreans have. And their political views are pretty much the Japanese supremacy, which might sound weird to you. I mean, we don't use that expression, but it is what it is to my eyes. And I'm not proud of them anymore because I'm not a right wing. Like, I could have been without the help of the people around me now, but yeah, I'm categorized as conservative in Japan. The first leader of 在特会 named Makoto Sakurai is in fact now the leader of the political group called Japan First Party. But no, it's not like America First, because they're using the slogan to make themselves look good by copying President Trump. And let me emphasize that it is not our official political party. They just named as a party, okay? Because they don't meet the party requirements, meaning that they are super duper minority here in Japan and they're nothing but a political organization. But I have to say though that people like this group, like 在特会people, they contributed to the Japanese society so much, especially during the democratic administration, which was from 2009 to 2012. So what was happening at the time in Japan was that just like the American society is threatened by the human rights organizations such as Black Lives Matter, we Japanese are constantly attacked by the left, who basically insists Korean lives matter. And I believe that they are mostly Japanese, okay? So from the inside of Japan, they bring up the historical fabrications against Japan and saying that Japan was evil back in the day, and the history education in Japan needs to show that, and so on. And these are of course political propaganda. And now you probably can see the leftist pattern, because it's exactly the same as what's happening in the US with Black Lives Matter. And our Democratic administration at the time was making things worse, just like Obama administration was doing in the US. So these Zaitokai people pretty much broke the political correctness in Japan years ago from now, doing protests or being active online together with all the other awakened ones. So this type of people online in Japan are called netoyo, which stands for netoyoku, meaning the internet right wing. And so its American version, I think, is alt-right. Like, you know, what shaped these powers, what was behind the birth, the situations that they were in, and how they use anime as a tool, even. Like, everything, like, fundamentally is the same. So we Japanese conservatives thank these, what I call supremacists, to a certain point. Like, a lot of us didn't even think that they were supremacists at that time. However, I don't know if it's because they kept fighting against the extreme left or what, but it's true that they go way too beyond. And people that echo with this group often call Koreans cockroaches, for example, like all the bad names. And also they say that all Koreans need to die and things like that, which I can't agree with. I understand where they are coming from, but I can't agree with what they're saying, if you know what I mean. By the way, I think the number of these angry Japanese people is shrinking because our political situation is changing for the better thanks to Prime Minister Abe. But anyway, so just like some alt-right people in the West think that everything bad is because of the Jews, or everything bad is like prepared by the Jewish people, these people in Japan, these supremacists in Japan, think that everything bad is because of Koreans, or that all criminals are Koreans or and Chinese or something like that. I mean, the people here that accuse Korean people, I would say that they are not fully wrong, because the industries here definitely have a dark place, you know, connected to South Korea and even North Korea. But the problem is that they generalize too much, because they talk about Koreans entirely, like as a race. They're also ignoring the aspects of who some Koreans collude with, or which political power these Koreans belong to, and that sort of things. And they're also mixing up Korean activists, spies, politicians with ordinary Korean people. I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's true, you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is the kind of people in Japan definitely has an extreme way of thinking, and it's something in common with some alt-right people I see, and I find that interesting. And sorry if you got offended, but here's the thing. So do we Japanese conservatives point out the difference from them and pick a fight against them, saying that they're wrong and everything? No, we don't. Because they're not really our allies, but they're not our enemies either. And in fact, some of the problems that they are fighting against are the same as ours. So we will always criticize them when needed, like I just did, but these are the reasons why Zaitokai kind of people and conservatives just ignore each other. So we just leave them as they are, like we don't interfere. But does that make us conservatives morally bad to leave some hateful people as they are? I don't think so, because one, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and two, crazy people are crazy, and the only way to stop them isn't the attempt to change them, but to try to change the society, which means that we have to focus on our own activities so that we can stop them or change them as a result. Of course, there's a line that you shouldn't cross, like a crime, but I just don't want people to be encouraged to start totalitarianism among the right side, because it will only benefit your enemies. Because in the process, you will beat each other to death, and it's also endless, you know? Plus, you waste the time that you could use to fight against your enemies that you have in common. But see, another thing is, I know that some of you disagree with me right now after hearing some points that I've made. And this is what happens often in situations like this. So when you had believed that someone thinks like you and you felt the attachment, but later you figure out that you don't agree with the person or on everything, like completely, like 100%, then it's natural for you to feel betrayed or start thinking the person is stupid or even dangerous, you know. And out of the anger of your own misjudgment, which I do too, you start bashing not yourself but the person that you're seeing. When infighting starts like this, your enemies will always get the last laugh. Just like with World War II, Japan and the US, the non-communist nations fought against each other and Stalin got the last laugh. And they didn't forget to implant their communist children in both of our countries. So we need to focus on our battle, right? And in order to do that, we need to constantly ask ourselves, who is our enemy? And what is it that they want? What do the left, globalist, establishment, communists, what do they want in this international battle? And I can see that the leftists in both Japan and the US are coming from socialism from the past, and their ultimate goal is communism, even in this generation. And their headquarters used to be in Soviet Union, but now it's no longer in Russia. Now it's in Beijing. And of course they have some stages prepared for themselves. Firstly, they have to get rid of all the obstacles such as alliance or networks that are in the way, whether it's at the level of nations or communities. For example, alliance between Japan and the US, or alliance between Japan and South Korea. They've been working so hard and they've been trying to tear us apart, and their tactics is the same. If I use the history as a reference, they take over organization, companies or political parties, run some propaganda using those to brainwash people, especially using history and religion. And there will be betrayers and they can divide your power and bring conflicts inside, weaken your nation, send spies to set things up to each side, and thus create the foundation for a social or communist revolution. Or just keep the non-communist power fight against each other until either of them dies or something. And that's easier because communists will not have to do anything to win. And some people will say like communism, like the revolution in this generation, ha 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 ha, you're stupid, blah blah. But hey, I remember being speechless each time I heard the word revolution from Bernie Sanders during the presidential election campaign. But still some people may oppose, but you know that the politicians in both Japan and the US have ties with China. And in terms of the US specifically, what the left is attacking is what's uniting your nation. And part of the core elements that are uniting the states of America is of course Christianity and patriotism. However though, I know that a lot of Americans will oppose to me. The way I see it is that American people nowadays are taught to believe that what's uniting your country is the common understanding of diversity, for example. Right? I've met a lot of American people and they're always proud of diversity. But I have to say that it sounds pretty recent. You know, like in the 50s, when there was a movement that shifted the society from melting pot to salad bowl. And I see that as a subcultural aspect. It's not fundamental. And rather what unites a group of people is always shared values. And what I see as common among the majority of the people in the US is Christianity. It's even in your language as well, like it's dominant. Like, you know how many people say every day like, oh my god, right? Oh Lord, or thank God, or Jesus Christ, like literally, or my prayers go out to blah blah blah. Or yes, is that a Christian thing as well? So maybe super religious Christians do not want to use that on a daily basis, but how about words like resurrection or cemetery or a cappella or nature or gifted? Who are you gifted from? Above? Who? Yeah. Or your culture of Easter, Halloween. Like soon it's gonna be banned or something, I feel. So according to the statistics of Pew Research Center, 70% of American citizens are Christian. It is decreasing, I see, but it's definitely still dominant. And this means that the shared values are there among Americans. And isn't it interesting that when people demonize Christians by bringing up much less dominant religion in the US or some sense of diversity or whatsoever, they are actually demonizing 70% of the US population. And I find that crazy as an outsider. And who doesn't like religion to begin with? Communists. And some people might go like, oh, you're Japanese, you have no idea what it's like here, blah blah blah. But I am kind of taking it personally because American liberals and communists back in the day did the same thing for the Japanese. Did you know that? So when we lost World War II, American liberals and communists like GHQ, they demonized our national religion, Shinto, as something dangerous, and they gave an order to actually ban it. But it's something that you can't just ban, you know, like, because as I said, like with your English, it's in our language, it's our everyday life, and you can't just cut it out. Like, it doesn't work like that. And therefore it's surviving. And maybe some people in Japan are not aware that they are Shintoists, but they do Shinto things anyway, because that's our life here in Japan. The awareness of the greatness of Shinto is growing back even thanks to the information generation. And how would that happen in the US with Christianity? In my opinion, this is my personal opinion, but of course the improvement in education and the media, and also taking back the young people that have gone to the spiritual side, like, you know, the new age, law of attraction, that sort of things, because they know that their heart needs a place with their beliefs. But what's happening is that they can't happily accept what they're given, which is Christianity for most part in the US, and they are creating their own, I feel, because they can't accept happily. Of course, I respect the freedom of religion and I wouldn't force anything to anybody, but as someone that woke up to the greatness of my own country, my own religion, I feel like those young people are abandoning their gifts. And speaking of religion, Muslim communities in the US of course have been in the spotlight. But you know what's important that the media is not reporting? According to the Pew Research Center article on July 26th this year, 92% of Muslims in the US are proud to be American. So 70% of the US citizens are Christian, but even people with different religious views are proud to be American, and the majority of Muslims even believe in American dream. And it's only 14% of Muslims in the US that think American people are unfriendly to them. And their problem seems to be the image of President Trump being unfriendly to them. But where do they get such an image? From the biased media, the left. The same article points out that the disapproving of the president now is as low as the last term of Bush 10 years ago in 2007. And Muslim people's feelings of challenges and obstacles in the US is also nothing new, as it's been hovering over the same percentage for 10 years. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it's been the same. So what this tells me is that it's not really a matter of President Trump, surprisingly, especially because President Trump is somebody that came into the office after Barack Obama, who had gone way too far left. So it's back to Bush era, and I see as the American society just came back to the American standards. And also I think that there's an aspect of natural religious conflict between Christianity and Islam, and the negative viewpoint Muslims have towards the Republican Party to begin with, like before Trump. So I wouldn't be too pessimistic with American Muslims. What I'd be concerned about instead is security and overly done immigrant policy, which changes the game. But it's a total different story, even though the left intentionally mixes up to confuse both people on the right and the left. So what I'm trying to show here is that the majority of American people still agree to something that unites you all. Right? So don't get deceived by activists or the media or the small percentage of your community that go extreme by the left agitations. You might say like, but Yoko, we are in America, you don't know anything what it feels like to be here or something like that. But trust me, you're in America, meaning that you are constantly getting the shower of propaganda, and what you're seeing, what you're feeling might not be even true. And as for patriotism, which unites your nation also, history takes a big part of that, as you know, and white guilt is only a part of that process to make America go communist. So white guilt or white people, it's just a tool, right? So it's not really about that, you know, the goal is somewhere else. So communists are attacking what's uniting the states of America, so what should you do? Be proud of your American identity. Be proud of your religion. Be proud of your history. Go after American dream and protect what they attack on, because what they're attacking you on or what they're demonizing you with are the very strength that you guys have, which your enemies want to get rid of. So protect that. Be proud of that. So Americans have two options. One, hate America to start a war inside and make America go communist, or two, love America and make America great again. The question is, which do you prefer? Lastly, let me mention Antifa quickly. So there's Antifa in Japan as well, and their claim is so weird because nobody else is saying that Prime Minister Abe is fascist. You know, like I think what's happening is that the Antifa type of people who are communists here, they are working with liberals or communists overseas, and they run the same campaign at the same time, but it's Japan, you know, Japan is so unique. So their campaign, it has to get localized, but they don't know how. And I am not going like conspiracy, you know, how do I know that they are communists? Because they belong to the Japanese Communist Party. It's that obvious. But yeah, as I told you before, the party, the Japanese Communist Party, was established as a Japanese branch of the Communist International, aka Comintern, of Soviet Union. And just like anti-Trump people are doing in front of Trump Tower or White House, there are always people here that do protests in front of our National Diet building or Prime Minister's official residence, but it's always the same faces with different names. They even use the same drum patterns as well. But yeah, we Japanese have learned through the gears that they use or the connections that they have with the National Diet members. The core young members of the protesters belong to the organization under the Japanese Communist Party, such as the Democratic Youth League of Japan. And some members actually admitted that unintentionally on Twitter. But yeah, these communists are the people that insist in Japan that, you know, Japan is evil and the demon Abe has to quit, blah 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 blah. It's exactly the same as what the leftists do in the US, you know, they are trying so hard to make President Trump quit. It's the same type of people. And it seriously is a worldwide problem, because I hear the same kind of things from other countries as well. And in my opinion, there are two ways to confront this. One, just simply fight back, which seems too pessimistic and endless to win. And two, establish stronger encircling networks in the international society, because our enemies want us to be apart, so we have to unite as a counter-attack. And I think it's working, because there's no place for them to come between us, right? And one important thing that I have to tell you is that I know that you guys are smart and intelligent, but no matter how well you refute those liberals or communists, they will keep doing what they are doing forever. Because that's their job, it's their strategy. They won't care how smart you are. Maybe they know that you are smarter than them and everything, but they will just keep doing what they're doing now. And whether or not it was visible, they've been doing that for decades, even before the World War II. And one of the rising awareness among the Japanese conservatives recently is that even in our history, it's not really that our enemies are strong, But the problem is that we get distracted by setups or some tiny little misunderstandings inside and go suicidal. And with that mindset, I look at the arguments in America, especially the Charlottesville thing, and I'm like, is that an efficient way to fight? So I'm really hoping that we will focus on what we really need to defeat, what we really need to engage in, and what we really need to protect ourselves from, and cooperate with each other internationally. And we must encircle our enemies, not only militarily or economically, but even in the field of speech, which you and I are in charge of. You might be like, oh Yoko, that sounds sweet, but what should we start from? Well, support President Trump, support Prime Minister Abe. Like, I know it sounds simple, but it's what really is. Like, I think that what we need to focus on is their works to make our countries better. Leftists are trying so hard to get in the way, and we are letting them. So don't let them. And if our leaders can do their jobs without any obstacles, then it will naturally defeat our enemies as a result. And the results do not lie. So just think of the leftist chant in both Japan and the US as a death cry, and let's stand together. We can do this. We will keep in touch. We will share information directly without media, so we can win this. But anyway, so I'm gonna end this video here. So thank you so much for watching till the end. I'm so grateful that you guys are there to watch my videos and listen to what I have to say. If you want to see more videos from me, make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, Random Yoko 2. Please like and share this video as well. And oh, I am on Patreon as well, so if you could please support me, that would be really great. I've been pretty active on Twitter recently as well, so say hi to me on Twitter as well. But anyway, thank you so much again. I will talk to you soon, okay? So take care. Until then, bye!